So you have to wonder, is there really a storm when it comes to Hot Toys? And especially Star Wars Hot Toys. Is it possible that we are misinterpreting what is going on right now? Not only in the primary market, but the secondary market for Star Wars Hot Toys? I have some thoughts on that, and I hope that within this episode I share with you a perspective that not only puts a smile on your face, but a relief in your stomach when it comes to collecting, and also some insight as to how to go on continuing, even in this crazy economic climate, enjoying collecting, having a smile on your face, and feel like a kid way back in the day when you were just playing with toys. Because quite honestly, that is what Hot Toys is all about. And also, I'm going to briefly go over some of the crazy stuff that's going on within the secondary market for Star Wars Hot Toys. I'm going to share with you the Hot Toys Wizard predictions on what is going to be forthcoming for Star Wars Hot Toys. We're going to do this in a very short and quick episode that so many of you were asking if I would do in addition to everything that I'm doing. So let's go ahead and just dive into all of this right now. All right, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show right here at Six Scale Cantina. And in case you don't know who I am the Dark Jedi, Aries Tarrington, and I'll be serving up all the Star Wars Hot Toys talk, Star Wars talk, Hot Toys talk, all the talk. My pleasure to be here with you. If this is the first time that you have ever seen Six Scale Cantina, go ahead and subscribe right now to the channel. And don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button. I so very much appreciate your support. Let's go ahead and go to sixscalecantina.com. If you don't have this website bookmarked, you may want to consider doing so. It not only has all the latest news on what's going on at Six Scale Cantina, as you can see here, but it also has all the latest news on Star Wars Hot Toys. We also have the market value chart for Marvel under construction. Soon to have that. Soon to have everything for Hot Toys on here, secondary market wise. But has all the latest information on what's going on the channel. All the latest breaking news on all the latest for Star Wars and Hot Toys. All the latest news in the secondary market as far as trends goes, what's moving up, what's going on. It is so crazy. It also has all the latest information on a Star Wars versus Marvel Hot Toys comparison. When you compare pre-orders to versus Star Wars versus Marvel, when you compare in-stock Star Wars versus Marvel, all the different comparisons, what's been released, what hasn't been released. It's a real handy-dandy and nifty website for sure. But when I first came into this hobby, and I'll go ahead and pull up the market value chart for Star Wars, it's really not too very much different than where it is today. And what I mean by that is, when I first came into this hobby, look at what I'm doing right here. These are all the figures that are available if you first come into this hobby that are within the secondary market for Star Wars Hot Toys. And as I keep scrolling and scrolling, you can see that there's quite a bit of them here. And when I first came into this hobby, this was somewhat like, wow, there is a lot that I missed out on. There is a tremendous amount. And as you can tell here, I am continuing to scroll. And scroll. And scroll. And I could keep scrolling. And scrolling. And scrolling. And really, one of the very interesting things here, as we're looking at this, that we need to keep in mind, is that everything in the secondary market that is not much different now than when I first came into collecting in this hobby far outseeds what you can go ahead and get in stock at Sideshow, currently right now in stock for Hot Toys. I'll take some sip of my coffee. This is the first time you're watching this channel. We spill coffee all the time at 6 Scale Cantina. You have to check out one of my live shows if you haven't yet. I serve it all up, depending on what table you're at, but we always serve it up during the live shows. There was no storm for me coming into this hobby. And what I mean by that is, with all this that you're seeing on your screen, I knew coming in that there was only so many figures that I was going to be able to afford to build up my collection, to start my collection. And I knew this coming in not only because of the price point, but because of collecting for decades Star Wars in general with other toy lines. You can't come into any kind of collection unless it's a real cheap and affordable one and think that you could come on in and get everything that you're seeing over here on the screen. That would be very daunting. That would be like you're in the middle of a hurricane. That would seem so chaotic. That would seem so gut-wrenching. That would also seem very preposterous, to be quite honest with you. Now, there's some that can afford that, and that's great. And quite honestly, this is not a storm. This is just the way of things. You starting to get into anything that's worthwhile collecting, you're going to have a lot of catching up to do. But instead, I came into this hobby excited, joyful, spilling my coffee, baby. Spilling my coffee. Out of the sheer excitement of the selection and opportunity to start one of the most amazing toy collections I have ever seen, and absolutely the most amazing toy collection for Star Wars that I have ever seen, Hot Toys. Again, this is quite a lot. As I continue to scroll more, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And coming into this hobby, it wasn't a storm. Being in this hobby, it's still not a storm. Try and get into vintage collectibles. Vintage Star Wars, especially the mint in box, mint in package, mint on card. Forget about AFA graded. Far exceeds anything that if you're into statues, you're into any of that, blows it away. Far more expensive. Just is. That's part of the toy community. Star Wars collecting is built upon toys. It just is. It's different than Marvel. I pointed it out in a lot of my live shows. It's different than so many other genres. Think of it similar to G.I. Joe. What storm is there? Because there's things to pre-order, there's things to choose from that are far less expensive than what I'm showing here on the screen. That's not a storm. That's a selection. Again, try and get into vintage Star Wars collecting. That's a storm, if you want to call it a storm. Especially if you go in thinking that you got to go in and get all those hundreds of pieces, and some of them going for $50,000, $100,000 each packaged. Storm, right? And never feel or let anyone make you feel like you got to go ahead and get all this, because then you are in a storm. Then it does feel like this. Then you have angst. Then you have anxiety. Then you don't have joy. Then you're not feeling like a kid playing with your figures. Matter of fact, you see something like this, run the hell out of there. Unless you got to rescue people. Do that first and then run them out and run yourself out. What are you going to do with all these pre-orders? Don't pre-order them. Don't pre-order everything. Does that mean you shouldn't pre-order? No, some people do that because they budget. I mean, I don't want to get into that conversation. Some people budget by pre-ordering, putting their monies down. It's kind of like, putting the deposit down, that type of thing. That's all fine and dandy. Some people don't do it. They save it in their bank account. Some people save it that way. That's all great. As long as you have parameters, that's good. What I'm talking about is the feeling like you got to get every figure. Oh my God, they're coming out with 20 new Star Wars figures. Well, no kidding. They're going to come out with 40. What am I going to do? I don't know. What do you do right now in the secondary market? Because there's way more than 40. Well, I don't get them all, Aries. Good. Do the same damn thing here. And you don't lose any sleep in the secondary market because you know in the back of your mind you can't get every one of those figures. You pick and choose the ones that you want. And is it possible that you should pick and choose the ones that you really want also? That are up on pre-order? And I say yes. Because if you don't, it kind of looks like this. And really, whether they're going ahead and announcing 10 figures or 100 figures, is there really any difference at that point? I mean, really. 70, if there's 100, throwing out a number, if there's 100 Star Wars Hot Toys figures in the secondary market at a high price, does it matter if it's 75 or 100 or 125? What the hell's the damn difference at that point? Do you think Hot Toys is in business to just put out 2 figures a year for you? You think any collectibles like that? No. Not with toys. So I'm hoping I'm setting you free here today. Stop thinking this. Get it out of your mind. There is no storm. If you feel like you've got to get every figure, then there's a storm. And if Hot Toys can't win no matter what, because if they stop announcing figures, you can go into the secondary market here in 6scalecantina.com and you'll find a way to still feel that devastation, because when you go to the biggest movers section or see the hundreds that are up there in the secondary market, you're still going to have to choose between all of these. And if you feel like you got to have all of them and you got to have them all within that time, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel like you're in the middle of a storm. Instead of feeling like you have a great selection to choose from and you can build up your collection through the years, through the decades like I have done, and feeling more like this. And that, my friends, that, boys and girls, is the art of collecting. Having parameters, having an understanding. You want to talk about there's a storm with gas prices and economically? Well, no kidding. You want to talk about there's a storm because there's things to order? No. There's way more to order in the secondary market. Why isn't there a storm there? If I go out to go buy a Ford, a new Ford Explorer, but I could pre-order the 2023 model, the limited version, the super limited version, the touring version, the off-world version, off-road version, the extended cab version, the turbo version. I'm stressed out. There's 6 to choose from. What do I do? And plus, I like Chevys too. What do I do? Use your head. But I want it all, Aries. Really get into vintage Star Wars and vintage G.I. Joe. You want it all now? Can't have it all now. I have the money for it all now. Great. Then you're not in the storm anyway. Go in with your eyes wide open. The more that Hot Toys puts out for Star Wars, of actual classic characters, characters we want, characters like Cad Bane, characters like Cobb Vanth, characters like Mace Windu, characters like Luke Skywalker, characters like Han Solo, the more you get to choose what you really want. And for those that collect multiple outside of genres, that collect Marvel, DC, Star Wars, a little bit of everything, many of them, they're savvy. Collect a few here, a few there, and a few here. And they know it's a little bit. It's kind of like when you get your plate. You put a little salt here, little pepper there, little bit here. Oh, but I need salt. If you pour the whole shaker on, of course you're going to be distressed. You're not going to feel good. It's going to be a storm of salt. So there's going to be more announcements for Star Wars Hot Toys. Choose wisely. Remember, you make of this what it is, your mental outlook on it. That's for sure. Budget accordingly. Make sure that you collect without no stress. I got no debt with my collection. So I don't got no stress. And I could give 2 craps if they come out with 300 pre-orders tomorrow. I'm still going to have no debt because I've been through this. There is no storm. There's a storm with gas. There's a storm globally. So you want to go ahead and tack that on to everything besides Hot Toys, go ahead and do that. But I don't come on here to talk about that. You could go watch that on CNN or Fox News or some other thing. I'm over here to talk about toys. Kids that play with action figures go and hang out and they play action figures where they don't got to talk about the stress of homework or the stress about mom and dad arguing or the stress of that. If you want to go ahead and do that, then this is probably not the channel for you. Because I'm not going to talk about that. But I'm also not going to hold your hand too. I'm going to give you a lot more credit. I think you can use your head. You should always budget wisely. And when the world is in chaos, you should probably pay more attention to your budget. As gas goes up and food goes up, you should pay more attention to your budget. Do you need me to tell you that, or you can kind of figure that out? And if everything was hunky-dory and everything was great and you were going to get into vintage G.I. Joe and you're not a millionaire, you should probably go into it piecing it out. Otherwise, you'll create a storm for yourself. SixScaleCantina.com. I'm trying to pull it up on the other screen. If you don't have this website bookmarked, you may want to consider doing so. real briefly, biggest movers right now. Going into the last topic before I go ahead and close this short show out. Look at what's going on with Darth Vader Empire Strikes Back 40th. Oh my goodness gracious. Dark Side Anakin, Obi-Wan Kenobi Revenge of the Sith, all moving crazy. All the Obi-Wans. Kylo Ren, The Last Jedi. You could get a great deal on that right now. It is tracked under the $200 tier range at $198 now according to the market value chart. Commander Cody on the rise, Anakin on the rise, 501st on the rise, Qui-Gon on the rise. Look at all this here. Absolutely crazy right now for Star Wars. If you go to the market value chart here at 6scalecantina.com, and when you go to the market value chart, you could go to that little column in the market value chart, the current value column, and if you go to those arrows in the current value column and click it twice, as I'm just doing here on the screen, you get the highest ranked figures to the lowest ranked figures, so it's easier to navigate. Little mistake on here, the Han and Chewie A New Hope is actually number 1. Just hard to sort that out with the 9 going to the 9 to the 1. It shows Tarkin and Vader number 1 at 996. It's actually Han and Chewie at 1002. But look at what's trending up. Han and Chewie steady at 1002. You see Tarkin and Vader trending up at 996. Dark Side Anakin $778. Wow. Wow, just $22 away from reaching the $800 tier range. Absolutely crazy. Animated Boba Fett also trending up. I'm just going over the ones here with the arrows. At $730 and rising. Obi-Wan Deluxe, $629 and rising. Han and Chewbacca The Force Awakens, $625 and rising. Grand Moff Tarkin, $598 and rising. Just $2 away from breaching the $600 tier range. Is it possible that that'll actually do that before this Obi-Wan series ends? We're going to have to keep an eye on it. Anakin, Revenge of the Sith, regular, $594, just $6 away from breaching the $600 tier range. Continuing to scroll to these arrows pointing up or down. Obi-Wan, regular, Revenge of the Sith, $513 and trending up. Chewbacca, from A New Hope, $501, has breached a $500 tier range by $1. Wow. Darth Vader, Empire Strikes Back in 40th packaging, $468 and rising. Absolutely unbelievable. Leia, Empire Strikes Back Hoth, $459 and rising, just $41 away from the $500 tier range. Commander Cody on the move, $429 and rising. Shore Trooper from Rogue One, MMS 389, the OG Shore Trooper, $417 and trending down. I think that'll be short-lived, but there's a tip for you. This may be the time to look for a Shore Trooper, even though it's still high. It'll be cheaper than where it will go back in the future. Chirrut Deluxe, finally on the way up, $414. I'm going to have to change that arrow on the biggest movers section from down to up. We'll see if that continues. Royal Guard, $405 and raising up. Wow, breached a $400 tier range. And Darth Vader from Empire Strikes Back in the non-40th anniversary packaging, the OG one, MMS 452, now has breached the $400 tier range and is at $404 and rising. Wow. Mud Trooper, MMS 493. I was telling you this was going to go up again. $385 and trending up, just $15 away. Wow, from $400. Boba Fett ESB Deluxe also on the move, $382, $18 away from breaching the $400 tier range. The Boba Fett Empire Strikes Back Deluxe, that reissue in the 40th packaging. Look at that, Chewbacca from The Force Awakens, $371 and rising. Let's continue to go through some of these arrows. Yoda Attack of the Clones, $352 and rising. Wow. Boba Fett Return of the Jedi. Not Boba Fett Return of the Jedi. Leia Endor, $327 and trending up. What happened to all these on the bargain bin? Not happening with Star Wars Hot Toys. Luke Crate, $317 and trending up. Wow. Luke Return of the Jedi, Jedi Knight, the original one in the fat suit. MMS 429, $315 and trending down. It's starting to show signs of reversing and trending up. If you're looking for a Luke Skywalker in your collection, all the Lukes are so hot. except people are really, really gravitating towards the Endor versions, which are absolutely heat. If you look at a Snagalook, forget about the fat suit and think about this because it's going to go back to 400 or 500 sometime in the coming year. So a little tip for you there. Jawa and EG6 droid, the Gonk droid, now $310 and rising. Again, where's the bargain bin? Qui-Gon Jinn is on the move, as I've been predicting it would be. Now $310 and rising. Mandalorian OG1 TMS 007, it is 271 trending up and down. So I'll talk about this more in a future episode. I've talked about it on my live shows. Be very, very huntful when you go ahead and look for this figure. Meaning that you could get a really, really good super deal. I see people buy this for $340, $350, $330 all the time. And I see it sell for $220, $230, $240 all the time. For this figure, and I only see it with this figure, my advice to you is to have patience and hunt it down. And right now, at least in this current climate, it won't stay that way. You could get a really, really good deal on it. 501st Clone Trooper Deluxe rising up to 71 and rising. And the 501st regular, as you can see here on the screen, $241 and rising. And as I talked about Kylo Ren, The Last Jedi, training down, now $198 as I highlight that. And trending down, geez Louise. I hope you liked what you watched here today. And if you did like what you watched here today, go ahead and smash that like button. I so very much appreciate your support. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you get all the latest updates on when I'm going live and when a new show comes up. And if you like what you heard here today, you may want to consider becoming a Cantina Insider. You could look right here. Go to 6scalecantina.com. I mean, you could click the little join button on the channel. It'll show you everything that it comes with. And then if you think it'll benefit you, you could join it. But you could also get an extra preview by going to 6scalecantina.com. Look at this little pink banner on the side of the homepage. You see Cantina Insider, join today. And if you want a little bit more on you can see my latest show on for insiders is Storm Talk is Real FOMO. An insiders exclusive. It was a 45-minute live show. You want more insight in this, expanded thoughts, heightened analysis, you could join the channel. You can go watch that right there. Or maybe you want some pleather cracking and climate control tips from the Dark Jedi. You can become an insider and get that. Or maybe you want to see my Boba Fett 2-pack unboxing. You can go ahead and go right here. And you could join the channel and you'll see that split screen. And if you're wondering a little bit of preview of my crazy unboxings as an insider, as you can see here up on the screen, you can look on the bottom left. I have up that quarter scale Grogu. It's an insider sneak peek. I give for you publicly one of my crazy unboxings with my split screen view. You can go and click right here at 6scalecantina.com and watch that. And then if you like what you see there, you may want to join the channel just with that because you get that preview. I enjoyed this today. I hope this gives you some insight. Don't forget, I will be live so many times. Just subscribe to 6 Scale Cantina and bookmark 6scalecantina.com to know when I'm going to do it. I'm going to end it like this. Remember, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. If you believe there is a storm, there is a storm. If you feel like you've got to get every darn thing out there, then you're going to feel that way and you're going to have angst. If you feel like you could pick and choose, and if you feel like with more selection that you get to pick and choose really what you want deep down in your heart, and that you can grow your collection just like from what's in the secondary market, in the primary market at your own pace, without feeling like you got to get every darn thing, I think you'll have less anxiety. And I think you'll have more fun. And I think you'll play with your figures like kids do, which is the whole purpose of it anyway. I don't always buy coffee out. But when I do, I buy from Six Scale Cantina. Stay thirsty, my friend.
Hey.